This is a Fox News alert. French President Francois Hollande proposed sweeping new laws to boost public safety in response to Friday's terror attacks in Paris. And the Interior Minister of France has floated the idea of closing certain mosques that preach hate. Now, 2016 presidential candidate Donald Trump was asked earlier today if he's elected president, would he consider doing the same? Here's what he said. Take a look.
Actually, the French have said they will shut down mosques that breed hatred.
That have radical leaderships.
Donald Trump, the French are talking about that. Is that something that you would consider doing as president?
Well, I would hate to do it, but it's something that you're going to have to strongly consider, because some of the ideas and some of the hatred, the absolute hatred, is coming from these areas. And, you know, in New York City, as an example, we had a group of people, from what I understand, that really knew what they were doing, that were really studying the situation, and they're not doing that anymore. And under the new mayor, they're not doing that anymore. And I think that's a mistake.
Joining us now, former NYPD Detective Bo Dietl, former CIA officer Mike Baker, and psychology expert, radio host, and TV host Dr. Gina Loudon. You know, you do not have the right, Dr. Loudon, to preach hate or make terroristic threats or plot and scheme against your fellow Americans. If a mosque is doing that, that would be a violation of law. That is not as far-fetched as, quote, liberals seem to think it is.
You're exactly right, Sean. In fact, I think it's Frank Gaffney's work that said that 80% of the mosques that exist in America are advocating or promoting violence. This is a problem. How can we turn a blind eye to that fact?
I don't know, Mike. How did this president does all the time? He's like, come on in, Syrian refugees, even though they infiltrated France.
Well, look, I mean, everything's, you know, it's surreal. You can't describe it. When someone travels to Raqqa for training, and then you don't have the ability to pull their passport and say you're no longer a citizen, you know, and by the way, here's prison. The mosque situation is interesting. I look at it from an operational standpoint. I'm more concerned with our ability to monitor what's going on, to identify issues and problems, to get leads that we need. And then also, there is one thing here that we have to focus on. Aside from taking away the territory of ISIS, which we have to do, people stand around and say, why do we need to bother with ISIS? Well, Paris is the reason. They plot, plan, and train from that territory.
Let me ask Paul this question.
Sure.
So the president's willing to take him in, but if he's wrong, he's gambling with our lives.
When you have a fool like Ben Rhodes, when you listen to him, when he talks about how they're going to be vetted, how do you vet someone who you don't know who they are?
Aren't they trained, though, Bo? This is your area of expertise, and your area.
Right.
Aren't they trained to lie? They're going to say, of course, I'm not a terrorist. I'm not with ISIS.
It's all of 6 minutes for an interview. They want to put him in the Revel Hotel. One idiot that owns the Revel Hotel says, bring the Syrians over to the Revel Hotel in New Jersey.
All right, look, let me ask you something, because some good people have a hard time grasping that these people can go into a crowded theater and start shooting innocent men, women, and children. That's just evil in our time.
Yeah.
This president's not recognizing, won't recognize, it's pathological that he won't recognize radical Islam.
It is absolutely pathological. You nailed it. And it's not just pathological, it's stupid and it's dangerous. And this whole perpetuation of the idea that, you know, if we just love everybody and we're more accepting, while he's saying the #1 problem, don't forget, is climate change, there's just a
him
huge,
and Bernie Sanders.
just a huge disconnect here. But I want to say one more thing. On this governor's thing, Sean, we're going to see this, and I'm not clairvoyant, but mark my words. The Democrat states will allow all the refugees in, and the Republican states won't. And you know why? Because the Democrats are wanting those votes.
Wait for Obama to just bypass the states and do whatever the hell he wants.
Look, it's not either or, though. I would argue, look, and this is what we always do, right? After something, we don't seem to have the ability to say, look, it's a gray world. It's not just black or white. So with the refugees, well, of course, Ben Rhodes, God bless people with creative writing degrees. He's a young man who is now in a position of National Security Advisor for Communications. But he's blowing smoke up our backside when he talks about the ability to vet. We don't have that ability, but we can. If I could just say, we can take refugees in if we do it in a smart fashion.
When you see what we saw Friday night, I was on Charles' show, and Charles said, Bo, what would you do? You know, I said right away, I said, you've got to go in and save whatever hostages you can, because they have one thing, there's no negotiating. They're willing to die. We're dealing with crazy people that want to die. You got to take headshots and take them out.
Our FBI, our national intelligence, they're all warning us. why our president won't listen. They will infiltrate that community, and they'll come to them.
They're here already.
Right.
They're
the
here
best,
already.
The best way to deal with this problem,
Scary.
again, is you have to take away their territories. When we don't have that strategy right now, we have to be at the front edge of the spear. We're all tired from the war on terror, but if you don't take away their territory, just like with Al-Qaeda, 9/11, they'll do it.
They wanna kill us.
We broke so many plots by eavesdropping on these radical mosques. We've got to do it again, and let's stop worrying
Real quick,
about
last word.
people's rights.
We don't have to accept the refugees. We can be compassionate by going there and helping
the
them in their
Republicans-
territory,
Why
in
don't you
their
send them to
country.
They
Saudi
need a
Arabia?
backbone.
Send them
We
to
can send
Saudi
safe
Arabia.
zone.
How about sending them
If
to
they don't
Saudi
want them,
Arabia?
they don't want them.
Why don't they want them? Because they know
answer.
what they are.
All right,
That's right.
we got to leave it there. Good to see you all. Thank you.
Thanks.